is Haley Jauch reporting to you live from CCN News. Today we're going to talk about corporal punishment and the benefits and the doubts of corporal punishment and what it actually is. To start off, I'm going to send you over to Leah so she can interview a few people and tell you their thoughts on corporal punishment.
Kempf, and today we are here at Centennial High School with Miss Durkee, and today we're going to be asking her some questions about corporal punishment. So, do you know what corporal punishment is?
Well, I think corporal punishment is giving consequences for doing something wrong.
And do you know what abuse is?
I think that abuse is a form of corporal punishment, and abuse would be, I think to me, it would be a harsher penalty for doing something wrong.
So do you think you would ever use corporal punishment on your own child?
I think that you have to sometimes provide some kind of a reinforcement that something was not the way it should be. So yes, I do think that I would, that sounds harsh, but I would.
So John, do you know what corporal punishment is?
Yes, I do.
And do you know what abuse is?
Yes, I do.
And do you think corporal punishment could be a form of abuse?
Definitely.
And would you ever use this on your own kids?
Depends on which kid we're talking about. Actually, no, I wouldn't use corporal punishment on them, but punishment I agree with. Corporal punishment I think should be reserved for rapists and murderers and pedophiles.
This is Leah Kempf, and today we are out in the field with Hannah. So, Hannah, do you know what corporal punishment is? No. Corporal punishment can be described as a form of punishment used on your kids, as in hitting them, spanking them, any type of punishment like that. Do you think that is acceptable for your kids?
Absolutely not.
And do you think corporal punishment can be a form of abuse?
Yes.
And would you ever use this on your own kids, or think it's acceptable in any way?
No.
At all? Ever?
No.
So in any circumstance, you would never ever hit your kids?
No.
Thank you so much. Today we are out in the field with Bianca.
Hey.
So Bianca, do you know what corporal punishment is?
Yes, I do.
And do you think corporal punishment could be a form of abuse?
To an extent.
In what circumstances do you think corporal punishment would be okay for your kids?
If they were disrespectful, if they did something that you told them not to do, or if they were acting up in public around people where they need to be mature.
So would you use corporal punishment in your own household with your own kids?
Yeah, I will. Just because I feel like it gets to them easier. Not every time they act up, but if I'm like, keep saying it over and over again, they don't do it, they're not listening.
So now that you guys have seen what a few people think corporal punishment is, I'm going to do a breakdown of the actual meaning of corporal punishment. So according to Heather Turner and David Finkelhor from University of New Hampshire, they say that corporal punishment is the physical punishment to a child that has done something wrong, causing them pain but not injury. So the key thing is pain and not injury. So injury would be more like abuse, and the pain would be the corporal punishment. So causing them pain so they know that what they were doing was wrong and that they should not do it again. A few things stated. The effects of corporal punishment is the amount of corporal punishment used on a child. So if you're using corporal punishment a lot on a child, it will actually hurt them in the future. So, like said, the odds of depression were almost 3 times as much with frequently used corporal punishment. So used frequently, it causes depression. On this Article 1, it states that the odds of a child being depressed is 3 times more as likely if the parent used corporal punishment frequently, like a lot, like on a day-to-day basis almost. Another thing stated in Article 1 was that the social attributes of the child It caused frequently used corporal punishment caused an antisocial behavior, causing them to do not as well academically, and having a social life was also very hard for them. Another thing stated in Article 1 was that the corporal punishment of a child, so too much corporal punishment towards a child actually affects the support from a parent to the kid. Because let's say the kid was playing a sport and their parents were trying to support them, but the kids didn't appreciate the support just because of how harsh they were towards them, like maybe like trying to teach them how to play the sport. So now the kids are just anxious when the parents are there to support them, and the only thing they are really worried about is disappointing their parents and the game due to too much corporal punishment towards the kid while playing the sport. Another thing stated in Article 1 was that high frequency corporal punishment. So let's say you're punished a lot, like I said again, day-to-day corporal punishment, that has effects on children, and then also not being punished enough. So less frequency corporal punishment, so they never got to learn the lesson of the rights and wrongs, so it affects them again in the future. So in Article 2, the title of the article is Explaining Corporal Punishment of Children, a Cross-Cultural Study, and it's by Carol R. Ember and Melvin Ember. They state that in the U.S., people believe that corporal punishment is appropriate and that it's actually necessary. So in Article 2, it is stated that caretakers are more likely to use corporal punishment on your children. So let's say you have a babysitter and they're babysitting your child. They are more likely to use corporal punishment on your child than you are yourself. Knowing who is taking care of your child is very important, and to make sure you are aware of what is going on inside the household while you are not there actively. Another thing they do state is that the closer biologically related they are to that child, the less likely they are going to use, they are going to punish that child. The less likely they will punish that child if they are biologically related to that child. And I believe this is just because they are going to see the effects of this child in the future, and they wouldn't want their actions to affect that child. Whereas if the child had a babysitter, the babysitter doesn't really, not that they don't care how the child turns out when they're older, but they don't have much to worry about at that point because it's not their child. They're not related to that child in any way. They're just there to take care of it. So basically what this whole thing was about is corporal punishment and why corporal punishment should and shouldn't be used, and to an extent of how much it should be used. So basically, if a child is in the wrong and they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing, giving them a spanking is a consequence that can be used in your perspective, however you think it should be used. But spanking them, I believe, is okay, just to tell them that they did wrong and that they should not do it again.